Hi guys and girls, my name's Al from Games3. Now obviously last week we were talking about the Razor, the console that I obviously said was a Sega console. Now I'm going to clear one thing before we continue, because obviously I have asked the questions that you guys are wanting to know the answers to the company, Aletheia Games, who are behind the Razor console. But obviously let's just start with this bit first, kind of a disclaimer, just so no one gets in trouble. Anyway, and so everyone knows the actual what's happening, what the company is, etc. So, obviously, as I originally said in my first video, I said a bunch of guys. Now, I didn't realise that it's actually a company called Aletheia Games. Now, they are the company behind the project. And obviously, this is the Razor, the console called the Razor. That is not a code name either, not like the Dolphin. Razor is the name of the console. Now, technically, well, at the moment, the console is not in any way related to the Sega the company. Although the plan is, or what they would like to do, is partner with Sega and then release the console. So even if Sega don't decide to partner with Aletheia Games to release the Razor and then call it Sega Razor, they will still release the console as the Razor by Aletheia Games. Obviously I have to make you aware of that, because that is the case, and obviously we don't want to get in trouble with Sega, do we? Because we love Sega, we know they like sharing things anyway, not like Nintendo, but you just got to be make sure you know that. Anyway, so let's get on. Here's the questions that you guys have answered, and that I've got the answers to. So, now, the first question I did ask was, now obviously I understand your plan is to go all out against the current big dogs in the world of console gaming, so that's PS4, Nintendo Switch, and obviously the Xbox One. And their response is, obviously, they want to partner with Sega and release the Razor to the market. Now, the plan is to go all out. They want to be as big as the PlayStation, Nintendo Switch and Microsoft's Xbox One. They want to be as big as that. Now obviously with Sega, a Sega comeback is massive, and obviously this is what they want to happen. They want to partner with them, release the console as the Sega Razor. Now they want it to be massive. Now, if you love Sega like I do, I'm pretty sure you'd love to see this. Now, don't get me wrong, Sega have done very well recently, ever since they've stopped making consoles, with the software market. They're releasing games left, right and centre for Vita, for any console you can probably think of nowadays. There's Sega games getting released for it. But I think maybe it's time to make a comeback, because they've had a bit of a gap. We want to bring them back. Now, the idea, now obviously you probably want to know this, backwards compatibility, sorry. Now, they say they want to make it backwards compatible to a certain extent. Now, when they said that, they meant they want it to start from essentially the disc-based type games. So you got Sega CD all the way up to the Dreamcast, meaning you'd be able to use your discs from those consoles on the Razor, or what could be the Sega Razor if Sega decide to actually partner with them. Which I think is pretty cool. This would be one hell of a thing to see, because let's face it, not many of us can afford to get a Sega CD at the cost of them, but also to have the Sega Saturn and the Dreamcast and the exact same console will be pretty damn mind-blowing. Now it will also have, what they kind of want to have a secondary option. There will be a store where you can download all of the Sega games, or most of the Sega games, as well as others I'm sure, but they want it to be predominantly a Sega based console, almost like a love letter to any Sega console, almost as like, well, I don't really know what I'm trying to say here, but so basically you'll be able to download Sega games, but they want that to be the secondary option. They want it to be a physical disc-based system. So the new games that come out for this system, Sega games, essentially, would be retail or obviously you'd be able to buy online as well and get delivered a physical disc. Now obviously it got me asking, what if there would be, being that in an ideal world being partnered with Sega, would that mean that games like SHENMUE3 or new Sonic releases, anything like that, would these then end up being exclusives with the console? Now they said that ideally they would like SHENMUE3 to just be PC as well, PC and Razer exclusive. That's what they would want, which I think is pretty cool. Could then also drive people to the console, because obviously you've got your PC gamers, they're always going to be PC gamers, but then you've got your console gamers who want to play games like Shenmue, and obviously maybe some new Sonic titles, but probably be on other consoles as well, but also on the Razer. The console would also be region free. That means no region locking at all, meaning you could get games also from Japan, America, UK, if you don't live in the UK, Europe, so you can play PAL and NTSC on that console, meaning you could essentially get rid of your Japanese Sega Saturns, your Dreamcast, all of that, all in this one unit. Now you're probably not going to do that, but if you don't already have those consoles, it's all going to be packed into that as well. Which basically opens up a whole brand new world of games, because there's a lot of Japanese games, exclusive games, you can't get in Europe or America. So it would open up that avenue as well. Now I did ask whether there was actually any games in development at the moment, and they're talking with developers currently to get a demo game set up. Now obviously they didn't tell me who those developers are, which is fair enough, because there is going to be a reveal slightly later on in the year where they will show off, I'm assuming, a demo, as well as the hardware itself. But they obviously didn't want to say what it was. They said literally leaving it for later, an undetermined reveal. So that will be later on, probably this year I would assume. But for now they're just in talks. Now obviously, like I said, this is going to be purely Sega based console, because I asked a question, I was like, so if you're Sega through and through, does that mean you're not going to be dealing with anything to do with Nintendo? Now obviously I'm sure they would love to have Nintendo allow them to use things like Mario, but obviously we know Nintendo, they're a little bit like Apple. As soon as you try to use anything of theirs, they are flat out no. Now that's obviously, personally I think the issue with Nintendo is they don't allow any other consoles to have any of their games. And I think that's where they fell in a big way. I mean obviously they've done well in the handheld market, but I think in the console market, that's where that's why I'm not excited about the Switch, for example. The only people who will buy the Switch, I believe, will be the people who already have a Wii or a Wii U. Anyway, let's stop talking about Nintendo, we're talking about Sega here. And next on, I asked about the specs. So obviously we all want to know about the specs. Now this question did come up in my comments, and they basically said they have some basic specs and they need to work out some legal issues, they put it. So they want to put some NVIDIA product into the system. All they've put is very fast RAM, so that's DDR4, and an M2 SSD, 1TB as a base model. So 1TB, that's quite, well, that is quite a lot, and obviously that's what PS4 now have as the Pro system, that's a terabyte. But the only thing they want to, they want to have a base model, and they want to keep it as a base model. They don't want to have to, like the PS4 or the Xbox, they don't want to make you then have to go out and buy another one a few years later. The only thing they want to make upgradable will be the hard drive, which would mean you'd be able to switch out for bigger models eventually, which is great, because let's face it, with games getting bigger and bigger and bigger, and obviously, well yeah, games getting bigger and bigger and bigger, you don't really have that much space for all your games nowadays. So by being able to upgrade, fantastic. I did also ask about the price point. Now obviously we don't know what price this is going to be, but as we know currently, how much is the PS4? PS4 is about 200 and something, and the same with the Xbox. They want to be below their competition, so that'll be below the cost of those, and also the Nintendo Switch because they want to be known as a trustworthy company. They don't want to be known as money grabbers because, let's face it, they're doing this for the fans of Sega, not just for themselves. They want to get this out there. I love Sega and I know I'd love this to happen, so let's face it, they just want to keep us happy and keep us keen for the product, really. And the idea would essentially, for this console, coming back to the fact they're not technically a Sega console, well, they're not, unless they partner, and if they did partner with Sega, they'd want to go all out in a war, essentially, with Nintendo. Now, if you love Sega and you don't like Nintendo, or you're not as much of a fan, a bit like the olden days, you either had a Mega Drive or you had a SNES. Obviously, I was always a Mega Drive, as you can see. That's the second one I've got. Also got the first model. I was never a Super Nintendo fan. I mean, a lot of people I know are still. I do have a Super Nintendo and a NES, but they're not my preferred console of choice. Always been the Mega Drive. And they would like to essentially resurrect that war between the two. And obviously, we love each other. We don't want too much war. We just want the audience on looking at Sega instead of any Nintendo product. So what they want to use, obviously with the new games for example, would be Blu-ray discs. So this is exactly like the PS4 and Xbox One. So there's a huge amount of storage there, and obviously it's a well-used media nowadays for consoles. The thing you will like, because I asked about the box, the packaging, because obviously when you look at a Sega game, you've generally got the iconic design. So you've got the blue with the sort of later games, when the earlier ones had the sort of black look, you know. So I asked about that because I was kind of intrigued about how they would make themselves stand out on the shelves. Now for collectors, because I know all of you guys thinking of getting this probably are big game collectors, and this makes it even more special, the games will be coming out in steelbooks, which makes them even more collectible, I'd say. I don't know if they're going to be numbered, so a bit like, you know, limited run games, maybe a bit like that, whether they'll be number 1 through to, you know, as far as they go, just to make it even more special. I think that would be a good idea. I don't know whether that will happen, but that's the idea anyway. Next up, we're nearly at the end here. I asked about the peripherals. Now, I was kind of interested to know whether it would just be the standard controller, or whether we'd be seeing anything a bit like the light gun. Would we be seeing the light gun, or anything like that? Now, obviously, we know the light gun technically wouldn't work nowadays, but with something like the Move technology, you could use it. So games like House of the Dead, Virtual Cop, shooters like that. Now, they were a bit coy in answering this. They were saying that there are going to... Well, did they say they're going to be peripheral? All they said was a controller that will fit the console and its capabilities. So that doesn't really answer a whole lot. But in all fairness, if they're going to showcase the console later this year, then they don't really want to give too much away. Personally, I think it would be quite a classic design. Maybe a bit like the Sega Mega Drive controller, but with analog sticks as well, and maybe shoulder buttons. I don't know, but that's just me guessing. I really don't know. Now that pretty much brings us to the end of this. So what you need to do is make sure you get on the razorconsole.com. razorconsole.com, because that is basically where all of my videos will be posted. So make sure you get over there, check them out, as well as YouTube on my channel. So make sure you like and subscribe, because I will be asking questions. So if you leave questions, they will eventually be answered, because I will obviously be doing interviews, things like that with these guys, with Aletheia Games. Obviously, as more comes out, I'll be asking more and more. So make sure you get over there, check out those guys. They've also got some email addresses on there if you do need to ask questions direct to them. But make sure you check out the website, which is razorconsole.com. So get on there, bookmark it, and just get all your updates via that. And obviously go to the media page, and that is where I will be every time I do an update. So that pretty much wraps it up for this week. Like I said, like and subscribe. Make sure you get over to their page. All updates will be on there. And I'll see you as soon as I got any more news. Thanks for watching, guys and girls. And I'll see you very, very soon, hopefully, with some more news from the Razor, aka maybe the Sega Razor. Who knows? Stay tuned.